How's it going, guys? Coffee here. Today I wanted to go over the new Erika 2 build that I've been trying. It's kind of a cheaper variation of a build that I had seen from some other people on the ladder and from some other content creators. The one that I actually ended up seeing this version from was a member who was actually in my stream with the name Less Fluff, who does play on EU. So the good thing about this version of the build, it is significantly cheaper than some of the other stuff that for what it takes in order to actually farm 8-4 content on God of Might or God of Machines. As you can see here, with this version of the build, I haven't even fully spec'd into all of the tankiness that it does have, and the build is, pretty close to immortal, pretty much. So the upside of the build is very high. The downside of the build is that you have basically zero bossing damage. Like if I were to actually go to the DPS golem, I'm doing maybe 10 million damage or something at most. The crux of the way that this build works is you are using these gravel wands, which are too many proxy shields, man. You are using these gravel wands, which are giving you a damage multiplier for every single jump that a projectile has taken. What do you basically with that? You are using that in order to basically stack a massive, a very big shock because of how many times things are going to jump back and forth. So the tankier things are, the higher your damage will get to become because your skills will get to basically jump back and forth a ton of times. With that, you can see again, the bossing damage is still going to be fine because I already have a built-up shock. But if I were to actually let my damage fall off, then the things would fall off entirely. So this is in loot pets as well, as you can see. The crux of the build is very similar to basically what we were doing before in prior leagues where we are using the legendary relic. So the crux of the build, as you can see here, are these gravel wands, which are giving you an additional damage dealt by horizontal projectiles after each jump. So these do multiply as well. So this is a multiplier. As you can see, the total number of jumps that we actually have on our skill here. If we actually go over to our lightning shot here, let's see if it actually even shows our jumps on here. I don't know if it does. Nope, I guess we have to count them by hand. So we're getting 3 jumps on each of our guns here. We are getting a jump on our slate down here, a jump on this slate, a jump on this slate, and you do want jump on these next 2 as well. I just don't have it in right now because I've been kind of like cheesing around with just cheap ways to do things. But best case scenario, you are getting at least you are getting at least 5 or 6 jumps from here as well, and then you are getting everything else on the tree is pretty much just going to be purely defensive, as well as getting your cooldown reduction. The requirements, I would say, to start this build to get it up to the point where you are able to even do like 8-4s on it. I can showcase some 8-4 stuff with this. The requirements to actually get up and do this on 8-4 are you are going to need your exquisite box, and you are going to need to get a Winter of Origin. The Winter of Origin right now as a recording is about 150 FE. The exquisite box is about 1k. And then the rest of the gear, like you'll be able to honestly craft everything else for about under 500 FE. It is important that you get this Settle Shock 5 times on your gloves. And then my recommendation, honestly, if you're just trying to save money, is to just get a 2 engram prototype lit. Prototype like this, if you can get one that's 1-3 or 1-4, they are very inexpensive. But you do want one that has this locked in at -5. It will make things easier for you. So if you can't get one that's a 1-3, you can look into 1-4s. 1-4s or even 2-3s are going to be the same thing. So this is 66 here. So locking in for a -5. So try to look for stuff like this. The other cooldown and other thing doesn't really matter that much. It's not that big of a deal. Primarily, you're just trying to get something where you're actually going to be able to proc it more than once. So whatever the count is, you basically need half that amount of total shocks minus the amount that you're getting from your feline figure. So looking for ones that are, again, if these neg 5 ones start to go up in price, instead look for neg 6s instead, right? So we look for a neg 6 locked into a neg 6. You can probably find these very, very cheap as well, instead of the 1.5s or whatever. So just kind of search around to see what's available. But again, if you can get one, I spent 10 FE for this. You can look back on stream when I purchased it. So we are able to kind of, you are able to find these specifically with 2 engrams here on the neg 6. Preferably 1 to 3 if you can get it, or like something low, right? We want max engrams here, max 2. And we want it neg 6 here. So you can find some of these. It might cost you maybe 100 FE or more, but either way, whatever you get, it will just basically adjust how many total shocks you actually need to get on your other stuff, right? So if you are, again, using a 1.4, that means the total required in order to proc the relic is 50. So in order to basically get one proc from your electric replication, in order for that to proc one from the relic, so they kind of feed off of each other, you will need 25 coming from each 25 from each basically feline figure shock that you do. So you can get up to 15 from your electrify. You have your 5 base, and then you want to get them here added on your relics as well, and then that's where you need the ones on your gloves to counteract the negative amount that you get on your relics now. So because of the fact that it does make it harder to justify using one of the 3 slot passives now, it's very hard to get those to work. So if you can find a 2 passive that is either non-prototype, you can look into those. They're probably going to be very, very expensive though. So I would say you don't necessarily need to do that. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. All in all, though, again, you're still going the same thing how we used to go before. We are stacking as much cooldown recovery speed as we possibly can. We are trying to get that. And then the other things you are stacking is going to be defensive traits and things. So you are going to be stacking your tenacity blessings, your armor, your evasion. Pretty much everything you are doing is going to be defensive. So as you can see, we are stacking here just a little bit of damage here. But then everything else as we're stacking is, again, just going to be a tenacity blessings to increase our armor. And then we are running formless to increase our Warcry effect here. For your pedigree, it is recommended to just run Ember Armor, so it just makes you even more tanky. Basically, the way that this is set up, if you actually get to the end game versions of the build, is you are running millions of survivability. So if we look at some of the builds that I've even found on the hero rankings for basically how to take this a little bit further, I did end up connecting this one random person's here. They don't even have like the craziest gear by any stretch of the imagination, but their survival is extremely high, right? They're sitting at 240k. They have really, really high armor. They have really, really high evasion, which is helping, right? 106% armor, so they are getting basically this giant mitigation for both elemental and physical hits, which means that they're very comfortably tanking anything in 8-4, whether it's in the whether it's doing the divinity realm thing here, or whether it's just doing it, whether it's doing Trial of Divinity, or whether it's just doing God of Might or God of Machines, things like that. They don't have to worry about dying to anything, so they can pretty much stand in anything. The regen that you are getting from the relic is going to keep you alive in anything, which is pretty much the crux of the build that you're going for. So I'm going to include kind of this cheaper version that I recommended. If you don't want to buy a Skin of Malice and it's expensive, so you don't want the movement speed or the deflection, you could always just go with like a Martyr's Staff, which is going to be kind of cheap. Yeah, so I will have some updates on this tomorrow as well. I just wanted to get something out there today, just so you guys could see, like, again, it doesn't take that much to get into it. So you can get started on it with little, and then obviously the more we put into it, the better it will get. And again, if you are going to do this, though, try to make sure that you finish your hero point stuff first before you actually go to that, because you are going to have issues with damage and stuff otherwise. So let's go ahead and we'll scale this. We'll do a T8-4 to kind of show things. And yeah, let's go ahead and take this and let's see how far we can get with it. All right. But you will notice a tiny bit of ramping at the very beginning until you actually start to get your things up. But after that, I mean, you can see this is on 8-4, right? We're hitting damage cap immediately already on everything. So you can see again, the damage is ramping up. My gear is, again, nothing crazy. I think the gravels, myself, I spent maybe 10 FE on them, right? Compared to other stuff. And then you can see here in God of Might, we are able to kind of sustain the actual ground effects themselves here. And I guess this one's not going to have my full God of Might tree. That's giving everything a bunch of extra tankiness, but still, it does get to showcase the idea of kind of getting all of this. We do... The tankier things get, the better the build gets, honestly, because it does mean that everything is chaining off of things multiple times in order to basically ensure that it's getting up to that max multiplier to end up getting up to the damage cap that you're seeing with the shock itself here. So yeah, you can see this, and then basically as long as we already have a good shock on ourselves, we're able to actually chunk down the boss. But if we were to lose that damage, then of course the damage for the build itself will fall off as well. So make sure that you are attacking the boss, or you are getting the boss down while you still have your shock up. Otherwise, you're going to see a significant chunk of damage down. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And other than that, see you in the next one.